Greetings, Gospel Magician and Christian Illusionist friends. I'm Dwayne Laughlin. Here's another history lesson for you. And this has nothing to do with any particular organization, but it has much to do, I believe, with all of us. And that is understanding how the world has changed. And believe me, this is profound. When I started in Gospel Magic well over 50 years ago, the thing that I promoted about what I did was the fact that it was a visual ministry, eye-catching. And that was a big deal in those days because there wasn't much visual ministry. There were no video screens in churches. Now and then a church might set up a screen and an old 8mm projector or 16 or whatever they were and show a Billy Graham film. But other than that, no preachers had screens behind them with visuals on them. I do remember when the old overhead projector came along and that became something some would use. But basically, everything was auditory. The preacher just preached, and it was up to his voice and his body language and all of that to hold the attention of the audience. And even in children's ministry, the best they had were visualized songs made on poster board and flannel graph, that sort of thing. Remember old flannel graphs, Cenefelds, things like that? That was all they had. And so when someone comes along who does these tricks, these things that are eye-catching, they're big, they're colorful, it's unique. It's something that attracted an audience. And I would often say we catch the eye, and by catching the eye, we get the ear, and by getting the ear, we get the door to the heart. So the whole idea was Gospel Magic was such a big deal because it was visual. It was something people could see. That's not the way the world is now. Think with me about this. Is visualized ministry unique today? No. There's a church 40 miles from where I am right now that is attended by about 100 people. But the video screen at the front of the church encompasses the entire wall behind the pastor. It's massive. And when he preaches, he's got these colorful things. Obviously, he has the text of the message. He has video clips that he shows. It's a small church. And almost every little church anywhere you go nowadays has a television and it's hooked up to YouTube. And for their children's ministry, they can bring in these fantastic visualized songs that they show on the TV screen so the kids can see all these fun graphics and there's animated stories and the list goes on and on. I did a program for a church in Michigan, a children's ministry. It was a small situation, about 40 kids. Believe it or not, they had intelligent lighting in their children's ministry room for just 40 kids. These flashing lights, all this fun stuff. Technology has become the big thing. I mean, we all know about how phones and digital devices have changed the world. I started, there was no such thing as a cell phone and no such thing as even a cordless phone. It was all the cord on the wall. So the idea is the world has changed tremendously when it comes to visuals. So now, if we as magicians say, well, the big deal here is my ministry is a visual ministry, it's not a big deal. Because almost all ministry is visual. So what do we have to offer? How do we market ourselves now? How do we, in a sense, pitch that we're needed? I had a wonderful conversation with Randy Christensen, who's one of the best Christian clowns on earth and a very dear friend, about this very matter. And we both observed that when we are in front of an audience, we are as effective as we've ever been. Put me or Randy in front of a bunch of kids in a children's ministry or a congregation in a church, and the people respond wonderfully. So it's not that our visualized ministry doesn't work. That's not the point. And it's not that Gospel Magic isn't a good thing. I think it's still a tremendous thing. But the challenge is convincing people who are in charge of children's ministry and in charge of outreach ministry, youth ministry, evangelism, whatever you want to call it, but convincing them that they need us. Because their thought is, why do I need to bring you in when I can find the same thing on YouTube? Well, the answer is, God chooses to use people. And what happens by way of ministry through a person who is indwelt by the Holy Spirit will never be replaced by a digital device. And so right now, at this stage in culture and history, it's not about the fact that what we do is visual. It's about the fact that we're human beings who love the Lord, who are using our talents in a unique way to connect with an audience. And churches need the human element. And they need people who are gifted spiritually to minister in context of their personalities and the gifts that God has given them as a human being. So we market whatever we do. We're gospel magicians, we're Christian illusionists, whatever it is. But it's about having a person in who loves the Lord and use his gifts to minister. That's where we need to put our attention. And thank the Lord that he does use us by way of his Holy Spirit. But I want to add just a little bit on this. I'm still working on how, when I communicate with youth leaders and children's pastors and different things, exactly how to explain this. That they can't just rely on video. They can't just rely on digital devices. They need the human element. I'm still kind of working on how to help them understand this. But I also think it applies to get-togethers and conferences. There are so many things that you can find on video now. And there are folks who, I organized a conference in Branson a while back, and I was amazed at how many people said, are you going to show it on video? Because they didn't want to make the trip. They didn't want to go to the conference. They just wanted to be able to watch it on TV. And I tried to explain to them that there's something that happens in person that I don't believe happens on video. Sure, the information can be on video, the general content, the education can come through video. But there's nothing that replaces relationships. There's nothing that can replace the fellowship that occurs from believer to believer, or for witnessing from somebody who's indwelt by the Holy Spirit to somebody who's spiritually lost and needs to be ministered to by way of the Spirit convicting them and changing their heart. So, to wrap this up, I wanted to keep this fairly short. I simply encourage you to remember how important the personal element is and to find ways to fellowship with people on a personal basis. Don't let your life just be in the digital world. Don't live your life in front of a TV screen. Get out there among people, minister to people, let people minister to you, have friends that you get together with who love the Lord. And when it comes to the context of promoting your ministry, think about who you are as a person. Think about the human aspect that you offer by way of the Spirit. And let that somehow become a big part of your sharing, that you have something worthwhile, something that others should be willing to invest time and maybe even finances in to bring you in and see what you do. So that's it. A little bit of history, basically me thinking out loud and wanting to be helpful. Bye-bye.